Good afternoon and welcome to today's Work Wonders 15-minute webinar starting at 2 p.m. and going for 15 minutes. My name is Kirsty McGrath and I'm the Productivity Specialist at DDLS performing these sessions for you. So what are we talking about today? We're looking at how we can actually make finding our files a little bit easier in OneDrive for Business. We're going to get stuck into it. At the end of the session, we will have another 15 minutes at the end. If you do have any questions, do please feel free to type them into the chat. You'll see it over on the right-hand side of your screen. And I'm happy to answer any questions or demo or show you something at the end if you need it. If at any point you actually cannot hear or see the presentation, please refresh your browser. You can do that with an F5, or you've got your little circular arrow up the top. And if you're still unsuccessful, then send a chat message through to the team and they will help you. Okay, so at any point, just refresh your screen if you're having any issues. So, OneDrive, making finding files easier. Things like, do you actually have a naming convention as a part of your organization? Or even for yourself, just at least to make it a little bit easier to be able to find some files when you're doing your search. Have you had a look at things like the OneDrive ribbons and know what you can actually customize in your views for your columns in OneDrive so that you can find files easily? What we're going to do is we're going to show you some of the better ways to be able to store and find your files in your OneDrive for Business. We're going to have a look at then how do you search in the Search Center and a little bit around searching. So I'm going to get stuck into a few of those things. Now don't forget, your OneDrive means that you're actually able to save your files anywhere, anytime, across any device. So hopefully you'll be able to find them on any device. One of the great things about OneDrive for Business. I'm going to go across, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a screen share now. It'll take a moment to come up on the screen for you. And once you're actually in there, we're going to go and have a look at our OneDrive. Now, if you can't see the screen, if you have gone back, don't forget to please refresh your screen or press F5. If you're still having issues, then go through to our moderated chat. So on the screen, I've actually got my training OneDrive for Business showing here. One of the things that you'll actually find around your data, and as you start to load it up, I've just got a lot of different files that are actually just being dumped into OneDrive. But there are always better ways to be able to work. One of the things that you'll actually note, when you bring your files in, and it's actually done through your browser, it will go, it's modified as of today's date. Okay, so that will come in as of today's date. If you use your Explorer view, so if you come from Explorer within your Windows environment and you've actually got your synced app down to your desktop, when you load the files in here, what it will actually do is it will keep things like the date modified and will sync that up to your online view. So it will change and adjust when it was modified depending on how you've actually added it into your OneDrive. Now, one of the things that I've actually got showing here over on the right-hand side is I've actually got up some metadata that comes with your files. A lot of people don't consider metadata. They don't consider things like naming conventions and why it's actually important. And what is metadata in the first place? It's actually a way of identifying your information. Do you know what? Everyone effectively is in the information business. When you consider there's like over 30 billion original documents created every year, and for every document we probably spend around about $1 creating a document minimum. But then you've got about $10 spent on managing it. And why? Because we haven't stopped for a moment and considered how much time it can take to do things like searching. An average person can spend up to 9.5 hours a week searching for content, and half of that is spent actually not finding it. And you know what? This is usually because we haven't set ourselves up in the beginning with the right information. I know it sometimes seems like, oh, you just save it and then you move on. But there's some really important components that are going to be able to help you, because your misinformation can actually be costing your organization millions of dollars. So rather than you working to try and find your data, hopefully your data will start working for you. So if I started to do something like a naming convention, what are the things that I'd want to have in here? This is a really, basic documents that are sitting within here at the moment. That may not be so easy for me to find when I start to do a search. Your naming conventions have to have something that's, one, it's got to be unique. It's got to tell you what's inside the file contents. It's got to be in line with your business type of thinking. Okay? It's got to be really easily searchable by the human eye. And one of those things is something like, having it alphabetically ordered and having a look at putting in things like dates. And it needs to be consistent. Now, the list I've got here, there's nothing really consistent about the list. If I wanted to find something in regards to Splice history, I've got 4 different documents. I now don't know what is in each document because it's just kind of all the same, really. What I've got over on the right-hand side is I've actually got some of the metadata that comes with this particular file that I can actually edit. Now, how do I get to it? Up the top, you've got your ribbons. I'm just going to, you can double-click on your ribbons, or over on the far right-hand side, you've got a little arrow, and you can pull down your ribbons to be able to view. Now, I'm on the View tab, and I've turned on the Details pane. And the Details pane is over on the left-hand side as a part of all your panes. You've got your navigation pane running down the left-hand side. You could have your preview pane on, and a lot of people will have their preview pane on so that they can see a live preview of the document and what it contains. Okay? Or you could have your Details pane. Your Detail pane comes up with an Alt-Shift-P. Okay, so it's kind of presenting that Details pane. Now, what I can do is I can go in and things like add in those tags. Now, tags are going to be what we're going to search on. It's part of the metadata. Now, if I was saying, just if I used an example, okay, say I wanted to use some metadata and the descriptor was, I wanted to find something on cats. This is just an example. So if I was online and I search for cats, it's going to come up with every single cat you're ever going to see. There are a lot of different words that you could put in instead of cat. Maybe it's also cat, it's kitten, it's furry, it's feline, it's a mammal. But if you were looking for a Siamese, you're going to be trawling through an awful lot. So you might want to put a specific word that in the business that's actually going to draw you to it. So you'd put in something like, if it was to do with cats, of course, then you'd put in a Siamese or a tabby or a Persian. That's drilling right down into the specifics. Okay, so I would go in, I'd get in things like my tags. Also, when we're talking in business concepts, your keywords might also be things like, it's a business plan, it's an expense report, marketing plans, purchase orders, time off, relocation, finance, change order, procurement. There are all these different areas of the business. Start putting in these tags so that when you come over, and they will come up and they will actually sync into your OneDrive for Business to be able to show in here and search on them, because it all sits as a part of the file metadata. Now, one of the things that you'll find is the ribbon is actually not showing in my OneDrive in here. Okay, so if we spend a bit of time, hopefully a bit of effort in terms of creating and improving our metadata, things will start to flow through. Now, because I can't see my ribbons, I need to come up to the top right-hand corner and click on the cog, and it will go Show Ribbons. So I'm just going to show the ribbon. Okay. So now, I'm going to give it a chance to come up. Now we've got our ribbons are actually displayed up the top. What you will see is it's actually got tags and notes both up on here on files. It's also sitting in libraries. We've got tags and notes. At the moment it is grayed out. It is a feature that's coming really soon for you. It still does recognize your tags and notes, and it does make it a little easier, but soon will be there as a capability for you to be able to work with. So when I come in here, if I've hopefully got the right information in, you might want to include things like dates as of when it was created. It was a business plan. It was for this company. It was which version. All these things need to come in. So you've got your document name, maybe an expiration date even would be really helpful, because there's often an awful lot of information out there that we don't need. 65% of our information we don't come back to. Okay? Who's the audience? That versioning, your project, department. How can you actually get some of this data into your OneDrive? So an easy way is to come through, and you can actually create columns. So up the top, on my library, I've got a button called Create a Column. So if I go and click on it, what it does is it's actually going to go, what kind of column do you want to create? And this is where you can start to build on the metadata that sits within your OneDrive to be able to easily search or create a view. So if I go, I want to have this one and it is by projects, for example, you could do it, on any one of those things. It could be projects, it could be what kind of business plans it is. It goes based on your business context. How do I want to work with that? Now you've got lots of different ones to be able to choose from, including your managed metadata. We're just going to go based on a choice menu because I want to be able to input information myself. You can add in things like your description. Let's go, which information about projects in progress, for example. So we could have closed projects type thing as well. So what kind of information do you want it to contain? And it could be this was project A, project B, project C, for example. I'm going to have it in a drop-down menu. I don't need radio buttons or anything. I actually want to choose how it comes in. I'm going to go OK. So what it will do is it will actually generate a new column for me, and that new column will then come up for me to be able to work with. But how do I get in and put my information in? So I can start to work with what I've got here. I need to actually just do a quick edit. So up on the top, on your ribbon, I'm going to go quick edit, and it changes the view of your page so that I can come in and go, this document is to do with project A, and I can start to say which project they're for. I'm just going to work my way through, and of course, because this is after the fact, I'm now having to do the work later. But give yourself a bit of time, and once you've got that information in, it will make life a lot easier for you down the track because it gives you another way to be able to sort, filter, and search your content. So I'm just adding a few in now so I can come back and create some views in a minute. Once I've finished having a look, I'm going to change it back to my view. I'm going to go out of quick edit again now. I'm going to come back into my view. So I can see now I've got my projects running down the right-hand side. It means I can now go and sort them and just choose them. Show me all the files for Project A. Now I can see I've got it filtered. How much easier is it to find it if you've got it and I've got a column with the right metadata to help you? Another way is sometimes it's not actually your content. So if it is shared with me, for example, so these are other content that's shared with me by someone else. If I'm wanting to actually work with this particular content or find it, it's a little harder. So when you're searching, it's important that other people have the metadata in to work with. We don't want to be wasting millions of time and millions of information in regards to looking at misinformation. So if I go, I want to look for anything that's to do with media, and I'm going to press enter. Here's all my media documents that are sitting throughout OneDrive, okay, with others depending on access. What I can do is I can actually search everything. So down the bottom I'm going to go click on search everything. It's going to take me over into my search center. So if I go into my search center, what it will do is it's searching right across the whole of Office 365, not just my OneDrive, okay? So I'm now going to go, what am I looking at? Everything, people, conversations, videos, and it's running right across the whole suite. Okay, so this is on SharePoint, all over the place. Running down the left-hand side of things like the type of documents, where it's sitting, who is the author, okay? And I can start to then work with my documentation and a really great little modified date. So I can go, I actually know that it was only within, a short period of time, and I can move it down in terms of my bar. I'm going to give it a chance to come across. Okay. So now that I've got my searching, it will bring up the metadata. You see it's going to tag it within the document. It's pretty good in terms of tagging. It'll even tag within a PDF document to be able to find your information. So understanding how it actually searches is really important. It comes down to the metadata. Now the other thing that I can actually do, so let me just go back quickly into my OneDrive. We've got a time to get a move on, is being able to create something like a view. Once we've got things like our data in there with columns, we can go and create a view. That view means that once I've created a view, it could be based on I want to have a standard view, and my standard view could be based on those projects. So it could be projects. I'm going to create, could be a personal view or a public view. And what I want to do is I actually want to have, let me bring in, based on my column, sorted by, there's my new column I've created, projects. I'm going to sort how, and then I'm just going to go down the bottom and go OK. So I'm just creating a column that's just purely being sorted by projects. I'm just keeping it really simple for you. I'm going to go now, and I can actually see that my projects are now sorted, okay, based on my A, B, C. I can group them together as well, and that's all in those features within there. Go and have a look and research how you can actually create your views and how you can actually modify it based on that particular view. Okay, so there's certainly lots of different ways to bring in your data to be able to support you. Share your metadata, set up alerts, set up tags, make sure you know when something gets changed. Work with your metadata, really important. The difference between, as I said, putting in a Siamese compared to putting in a cat is quite different, and it filters down the search. Okay? If you don't manage your information, your business actually pays for it, and it should become your core competency as a part of your organisation. Put any questions that you have, put them in the question pane. Otherwise, what I can do is we'll have a look at what's going on next week. We're going to be looking at saving time in Outlook. Now, if that's something that we don't all need to know, considering how much time we spend in Outlook, discover a range of tips that hopefully you can spend more time on other things that are actually really important. How to turn off things like notifications, calendar entries, okay? Creating things like your conversation views, track your meeting responses, and using your quick access toolbar, and there will be a lot more coming as a part of that. If you do have any questions that you don't wish to ask in today's session, maybe you want to ask me outside of the session, I'm more than happy to answer and show. Okay, ask questions or thoughts or comments, go to our Users Work Wonders and Office 365 group on Yammer. You can go in there, and I am more than happy to have a chat with you at any point, or put it up. Feel free, because even if you think it's something that's nothing's ever wrong, there's never a bad question. We're all learning, and it's something that might be of value to someone else. You can also email us at 0365au2@microsoft.com. And don't forget, if you've got other co-workers that you would actually like to join in the session, okay, don't forget, get them in, get them registered. Go to our microsoft.com/Australia/work-wonders. And come and invite them, grab the toolkit, and bring in your whole organisation. And we will see you next week to have a look at Outlook. Save yourself some time. Until then, thank you very much for joining this week.